I am pissed. Pissed, I tell you. I'm pissed. I'm pissed at Nikki. I'm pissed with Barb, with Roman, with Bill, with Adeline. Like everybody has ticked me off during this episode because the amount of brainwashing that has occurred in order for these ladies to continue to find themselves sitting here and aiding these men in their crimes, the level of brainwashing that occurs that doesn't allow these people to see that they are in a cult, for these women to feel like they have to put their feelings aside because of a man, it makes it hard for me at times to sympathize with them because it's beyond my comprehension. And I get it. And I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that I've never been brought up like this. It's just heartbreaking to see because even though this is not a real series, this isn't a reality situation, the reality is it is based on stories that have occurred within the polygamous community. They've taken bits and pieces from various groups. So to know that this is the reality that a lot of them face, it just hurts me. For Kathy to have put herself out there the way that she has, to be manipulated at every turn by the very people who profess to be there to protect her, for it to be broadcasted, for her identity to be revealed on television, for the case to turn out the way that it turned out, for Bill to be leaning so hard on her and Rhonda to tell their stories, yet he has an entire wife that is living in his household that he seems to not feel like she needs to tell her story, is odd to me. And I don't quite get it. And I feel like at the end when Kathy was spat on, that she didn't just get somebody putting their bodily fluids on her literally, but this whole entire situation with all of these people, they all spat on her. Okay, every last one of them. That is my opinion. I feel like they all should be locked up, anybody who interfered. So that includes Bill, and that includes Adeline, and that includes Albie, because Albie did what he wanted to do when it was convenient, and it definitely includes Nikki, which is crazy to me. I said it before and I'll say it again. I find myself struggling at times with liking Nikki. And as I watch this episode, it becomes clearer more and more that part of the reason why I struggle is because of how involved she is, how quickly she seems to turn against her family, how quickly she was willing to help her father. But then when I see Adeline do the things that she's done, her mom, I'm not surprised by what she's done because it just happens to be what she's accustomed to. Not only that, every time Bill gets involved, in my opinion, the situation becomes worse. So go ahead and do me a favor, hit the like button. I don't even remember if I said welcome or welcome back. If I didn't, I need to calm down. Y'all, I'm sorry for yelling. If I did not, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Big Love Season 3 review. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to be doing this stuff often with the images, but I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do it again for the sake of making sure that you all who do not watch the series are aware of who these people that I'm speaking about is. After that, I'm probably not going to do it as much. I may show a clip here and there, but I just want to kind of, basically get accustomed to using this feature, as well as make sure that I am giving y'all, a little bit of variation here. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into this whole situation. It's a few days out from the trial, and everyone is on edge. Nikki comes into the house and she's complaining about Margine, which is annoying because it is clear that Margine is mourning and she does not know what to do with herself, and it's coming out in an odd way, right? With the dancing and all the other things that we see her do in this episode. That is clear that she's mourning. So she's complaining about her loud music and how she was playing music up till 2 o'clock in the morning. And Barb kind of pulls her to the side to remind her to take it easy on Margie, given all that's happened. And Nikki is irritated by that statement because Nikki wants people to feel sorry for her too, because her father's on trial. I would be extremely annoyed with Nikki. Barb gets on my nerves, but Nikki does as well. Because how can you expect for people to feel sorry for you about your father when your father has done so many wrong things to the others? Even if you don't know all the stories, you're aware of what he's done to you. And whether you want to admit it or not, you're aware of what he's now done to Kathy, right? So Barb and Margie have decided to give their nights to Nikki until the trial ends, because at this point they can tell that there's tension between the two of these I was going to say ladies, the two of these people, between Bill and Nikki, and they want them to be united, even though at this point they're operating on different sides. As you can see, neither Nikki or Bill seem happy about being stuck with each other while the trial is going on. So at night, we see the two of them, right? And they're playing goldfish, which I'm like, out of all things that y'all want to do, this is what you're going to do. But he wants to watch the news. She doesn't want to watch the news. She's being short with him. He's trying to find his way back in there. So he asks her if, she wants to have sex. And she says, no, I do not want to have sex with you. And I'm sitting here like, okay, Bill, this is not the way that you solve this problem. And I personally wouldn't want to have relations with you either. It's clear that there is a lot of tension there. So Bill is flip-flopping all over the place. And he flip-flops over to where Rhonda is, right? Because he wants to convince Rhonda now that she needs to testify. This time, he's agreeing that he's going to back her up. So she, like anybody else, would be confused about the situation because he keeps switching it up. Like 1 minute you didn't want her to, now you want her to. You gave her money to get on the bus. You didn't even know she was back. Like, what are you doing? Do you want her to or not? And he claims that, what happened is that he had a change of heart and that he was wrong. You all tell me what you think. Do you believe that Bill genuinely had a change of heart? Do you feel like Bill is really concerned like he professes to be when it comes to these ladies? Because to me, if he was, he would be more willing to be on the stand and to say certain things and to even talk to his wife about telling her story. But I feel like this type of situation isn't really about them. So he tells her, he was wrong because he put his interest first. And I feel like that's nothing new. He always puts his interests first. The only reason why, in my opinion, that he is switching it up now is because of the fact that he found out about what happened to his sister. If he wasn't told that story by Joey, if Joey didn't let him know, like, hey, this is what happened to Maggie, then I doubt that he would be this concerned to sit here and get back Roman. So part of me feels like, once again, it's coming from a place of vengeance rather than for him really trying to look out for the women that are currently at the compound and others. So Rhonda is confused, and Rhonda says, like, Roman is the only person that's been kind to me. when I heard her say that, I felt badly for her because although Rhonda has issues, it's clear that she has a major void there. Even when we saw her mother in earlier episodes, her mother wasn't kind to her. Her mother was forcing her and telling her, like, you should be happy that the prophet wants you and all those things. So hearing her say, like, nobody else has been kind to me kind of speaks to the way that her life has been. So Bill is like, he's been kind to you, but he's a false prophet, that he twists people's minds. And I'm listening to Bill and I'm like, Bill, you're no better. You do the same thing. Like, you twist minds too. You change things so that they benefit you. So are you really as different from Roman as you think you are? Just because you're not forcing people to marry you, there's still things about Bill that isn't right. I feel like he and Roman do a lot of the same things where they purposely use, like, that calm tone when they're talking to make you feel like they're concerned. But I really don't feel like they're concerned. So Rhonda asks, if she does this. She's like, if I do this, will more people like me? And Bill says, I will like you more. And I say, what kind of crap is that? Then I can't help but noticing that as they are having their conversation, that this lady is in there cleaning and she's listening. And that is when I realized, before we even see her again with Adeline, that she is a plant, that Nikki's mom put her in this house to keep an eye on Rhonda. Understand that the prophet's sixth wife is doing more work than any of them. That between her and Nikki, it's the reason why things transpire the way that they transpire. So Nikki is accompanied by Roman's true enforcer, in my opinion, her mother. Roman tells her that what he needs from her right now is that he needs her to go back to work because it's been 2 days since she's been back at work. So he's like, what's the matter, honey? Are you upset about something? She's like, no. He says, well, are you angry at me? It might break my pea-picking heart, but you can tell me if you are. She says no to all of this. It's always the tone. Whenever he wants something from these women, he uses that tone, that concerning, oh, woe is me, oh, this is what I'm saying tone. Meanwhile, in the next shot, he'll be yelling or fussing about something. So he says, look at you. I held you in my arms, and now you've grown strong, and I've become old. I know Bill has made this difficult for you, but I need you to protect me now, as I once watched over you. And I said, all right, the ball's about to drop. There's a reason why you summoned her into your office, which right now is the jail. So we get to his point, which is that he wants more information. He wants copies of the briefs and names of the character witnesses because they want to do what they've been doing this entire time, which is get people into not talking, right? Because that's what seems to work best for them. She goes back to the office and she ends up getting all that info and forwards it to her mom. So Don is at the office. Barb and Margie come down to Home Plus to have a talk with him. Margie is showing old pictures of her mother as he's complaining about how his wives left him and that they're using credit cards to furnish their home. I'm not trying to plant something here, but y'all let me know. Tell me if I'm completely off here. I understand. Y'all tell me in a nice way. I appreciate you. Are the wives like together? Like, we talked a little bit in this episode about, I can't remember if the term he was SSA couples. We'll get to it. Are they one of those couples? Like, are they a homosexual couple? Because I'm not understanding why they're letting us know things like they bought furniture together. Like, I feel like there's some undertones there, but maybe I'm reaching. Just let me know. So we find out that Barb is there because she wants to know what the money situation is looking like. It says a lot to me that she could not ask this question of her husband. She's trying to act like she doesn't want him to know that she's concerned, but I don't think it has to do with that. I think that Barb realizes that there's a lot of things that Bill has not made her privy to, and he's probably not being honest about the finances. Does she know that he's a liar? Does she know that he's not going to tell the truth? Like, why are you asking Don? So she's like, keep it between us because I don't want him to worry. And she's like, if Bill were to testify and things go badly, we'll be okay, right? And in a roundabout way, Don lets Barb know that they won't be okay because they're in the red for Home Plus. So she's like, well, what about, we were gaming? Can I see that? He was like, I was looking over the books before you called, and he hands her the paperwork, and she's like, there's nothing. He says, yeah, the money that we've received from Weber Gaming has been diverted into building this casino. When I heard it, I was like, this sounds like a tax problem waiting to happen. I'm staying in my lane. I don't know about, all this business talk and moving this here and doing all of that. But I will say that it doesn't sound right. Correct me down below if I'm wrong. I feel like those different businesses, that their finances should be separate, but I'll stay in my lane. To me, this is an example of why certain things need to be handled the appropriate way, and you shouldn't just jump into it because it doesn't seem like they were really prepared for the situation with them being in the red. So Barb is like, oh my goodness. So Barb says, okay, we got to figure this out. So what she ends up doing is she ends up calling her mother, letting her know the information that she just found out, and, is asking her mom if there's a way, should things go wrong, that she could kind of aid and give them some stability by providing some funds. So we later see Nancy, and she's sitting outside of the house, and she's talking to her like she's been doing on the phone while Barbara's in the house. And she sees Anna outside with the boys, and she's asking Barb, like, she tell Barb she'll look into it, but she says, who's that lady? And she's like, oh, those are Nikki's boys, whatever. But she doesn't say that that's their fourth. What she does instead is kind of act like the lady's there to watch Nikki's kids. So Nancy checks into the financials with her husband, yada, yada, yo. He ends up telling her that she shouldn't do it. I personally agree, especially the way that the situation is going with them. It wouldn't make sense to me. It would not make sense to sit here and to call this man because it's just a whole bunch of mess going on with them, right? So Bill calls Albie, claiming that he wants to help him with some investment strategies for the UEB. Albie, having seen some of the stuff that Bill has done, is skeptical of the situation, as I would be. He says, I got that as well as some, opportunities for the compound, like some economic things. So he tells him to swing by his office so they can talk. The fact that Bill is sitting here saying how he can help them with some business stuff makes me wonder if he realizes what a bad position he's put his family in with this whole casino thing and this Weber gaming thing. I don't think he realizes it yet. And the fact that you're trying to give Albie advice is laughable. Something about that, though, being able to go to the office so that he can talk to Bill excites Albie because he's intrigued, right? And we see his wife Laura listening in the next room, and she can't get to him fast enough when he gets off that phone to give him her opinion. And she's like, where was he when we did all the hard work? He's Johnny come lately, like, don't trust him. And I don't really blame her because they're the reason why the state took the case with well, I was gonna say their father, with his father in the first place. She tells him like he bears us no goodwill, meaning he doesn't have our interests in mind. And she's right, because he doesn't. On to my girl. My girl is down bad, right? Lois is down bad. She is peeing outside. I don't know why they felt the need to show us that, but we got to see her peeing outside and sleeping in the car because she's fled the compound. Apparently, Nita told Albie that Frank was with Lois because of how he was missing. And she said that she did it because of how far Lois had strayed from Heavenly Father. And I was laughing because I guess Nita hitting him in the head with the shovel wasn't her straying. So Lois is on the phone with her, and Nita lets her know that Frank took out an insurance policy on her 2 days ago and that he's trying to hunt her down like a dog. I said, interesting choice of words that she's saying like a dog. Lois informs Nita that she, at this point, is homeless and that she has a half a tank and $16 to her name. So while she's on the phone, we hear Nita say, Frank, no, Frank, and then glass breaks, which makes me wonder what has happened to her because he's probably mad at her too, and it doesn't sound like he's gotten even with her yet. Hopefully, she's okay. I guess we'll see maybe within the next episode or so. So Lois ends up going to her son's house and she's pleading with, Bill. She's pleading her case about, whenever Lois does this, she talks like she's innocent too. She does the very thing that the men tend to do to them where she, I don't know why he's trying to kill me. Things have changed with his old age. I just don't get what it is, but I'm not safe. And of course, she's leaving out key details. So Bill tells her that she can stay there. Meanwhile, Barb is looking at her like, you're up to something again. This is just what you do. You're up to something again. So we go to what is that? I think they're in Home Plus. They're shopping. Margie, Nikki, and Anna, right? They're doing grocery shopping. So Anna is asking questions about the trial and how Nikki is feeling and how her father is. And Nikki is being snappy. Anna is like, is Roman scary? Because I'm looking at his pictures and he looks scary. And she keeps talking. And Nikki eventually turns to her and says that she doesn't need any more comments from the peanut gallery. I get it that Nikki, you're frustrated and you're going through things, but Nikki often takes out her frustrations on the people around her rather than who she really needs to take it out on in this case, which is her father and her mother. So Anna looks at Margine as Nikki walks off and she calls her an itch. She says she's an itch. And if I'm going to live with her, that's going to have to change. I said, okay, this is going to be a mess because Anna is a lot more vocal and she's not somebody who they can treat the way that they treat Margine. So her being added to the family will be interesting. So Margie tells her that, it's not right. She runs to Nikki. She sends Anna off to get milk or something. And she runs to Nikki. It's like, it's not right to treat her that way. She's not who you're upset at. That's not who you're really angry with. Like, why don't you take, your anger out on who you're really angry with? And Nikki denies it and flips it on her and is telling her, like, you're not going to say that this is because of the situation with my dad or with Bill or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. They feel like you should be coddled. I don't. You need to kind of get over yourself, Margie. And she walks off and I'm like, okay, once again, you just continue to show how cruel you are sometimes because it just wasn't no need for that. So Sarah is considering giving up her child for adoption. We look at her looking at videos of potential couples and she decides to meet with the husband and wife of one of the couples, right? They seem like they're good people, right? They seem like a potential match. And I'm not saying they're not good people. I think they are good people. I think that their story just complicates things. It's quickly revealed that the husband has a problem with SSA, as he calls it. He has a same sex attraction, meaning he's a homosexual man. He and his wife love each other, but they are not in love with each other. The both of them seem to be content with their situation, but Sarah does not want content. Sarah wants her children to be in a home where people are actually in love with each other. So they leave out of the thing, and Heather's talking about how, this may be a good thing, because Heather herself, it seems, is wrestling with what her who she's attracted to, right? What her feelings are on the manor. But Heather, more than anything, is upset that she's considering to keep the pregnancy from her parents, go all the way to another place where she can have the baby out there and they won't see her or anything anymore, which bothers her, right? But to Sarah, that's not even anything that they should be talking about right now. She's like, her main focus is whether or not she can see like intimacy between the couple. She wants what's best for her child. She does not want her child to be in a situation where they're in a loveless marriage. While she's saying all this, it just goes to show you the things that she's witnessed over time. And it makes me wonder what it is that Heather is thinking when she sees her friend struggling with this, knowing that she has struggles of her own, because she's upset because she was the last person to find out that she was pregnant. But there's things about herself which she hasn't told Sarah as well, even though I think that it's two completely different situations, and I would understand why, she's nervous about it. They all have, their secrets and things that they're trying to work through. Sarah says, out of all things, she definitely doesn't want them to become a polygamist. So when Ben suggests that the parents receive the child, she gets very frustrated with him, which I can understand why Ben would say that, especially given that they think children are a blessing and Barb can't have any more children. At the end of the episode, though, we see Ben telling Sarah that whatever she decides to do, that he's going to support her. There was a lot of sibling situations here. Sibling interaction with Albie and Nikki. Sibling interaction with Sarah and her brother. We even got to see with I can't think of her name, Kathy and Jodine, who's her twin. We'll get to it. So Nikki is back at work, right? And Bill is there to play both sides as usual. Without informing Nikki, he privately meets with Ray, telling him that he thinks that he can help him. He thinks that he can, tell him some things. So Ray is interested in what he has to say. He tells the DA that even though I jumped around. Y'all just go with me here. He tells the DA that he needs to put a search on, y'all know I don't edit, Adeline them. This is all out of order. Why didn't I read this beforehand? Okay. Let me scroll. Okay. He tells the DA that even though he is on the witness side for Roman, that he was basically coerced. That Roman wants to see him up there to help, but he wants to see Roman locked up, just like the DA does. And despite what he thinks, he left Juniper Creek almost 30 years ago. So he says Kathy's home has been vandalized. Pressure has been put on Rhonda. She's impressionable and alone, and she's wavering. I'm listening to all of this, and it becomes clear to me that the DA hasn't done his research and he doesn't check up on his people enough, because you should have been paying attention to each one of those wives and seeing who was coming down to visit Roman in jail and all these other things. But all of this news is new to him. He says that, Rhonda should be good. He's with, his mom, her mom. And Bill's like, no, she's not with her mother. Her mother left 3 weeks ago, that she's living in a floater house. He's saying all of this, you would think, because he cares, but it's just because he wants him to do what he wants him to do, because everybody is a pawn to Bill. So Bill's like, look, I know you think what you think about me, but I still have family that is out there. My brother still lives there. A lot of people in my family have been hurt by the darkness of Juniper Creek. I was run off as a kid almost 30 years ago. Next thing we see Kathy and Rhonda, right? Because of this whole conversation that they had, because he now knows that something is up and that the witnesses are in danger. He's decided now, after the other two have already ran off, that he's gonna get them some protection. So he takes them, well, he doesn't take them. He has officers escort them to a hotel. Rhonda doesn't want to stay there, while Kathy feels like this is for their protection and that they're doing the right thing. Rhonda is lonely, and Kathy can tell something is off about Rhonda. So she's looking back at Rhonda like, okay, what's going on here? So Kathy gets on the phone with her sister, and she thanks her sister for testifying on her behalf. Her sister tells her that it's not a hard decision to make because she's never loved anyone more than her. They get off the phone. So Joey is in the shower. Kathy and Wanda are in the room alone. And Kathy's like, Wanda, I'm so sorry for dragging you guys into this. If it makes it easier, I'm willing to do this alone. And if you want me to leave, I'll leave. So Wanda tells her, I want you to leave. Kathy looks so concerned because even though Kathy said it, she didn't really want to leave. And Wanda says she's just kidding, and she gets up and walks away. But Wanda is not just kidding. She's very, very serious about it. We then see Margene dancing in a circle surrounded by pictures of her mother and images and mementos and things of that nature. It's a little odd, but there's something with it. I feel like this is how she's coping, right? So Roman's attorney visits him to let Roman know that Wanda is going to testify against him, that it's time for him to take a deal. He doesn't believe it. He says Rhonda would never do that. He says he knows that he's not going to be found guilty, so there's going to be no deal. We see Adeline call Bill and tell him that he's been meddling. And that's when we see that same girl that we saw earlier standing behind Adeline ironing. So she went from wiping floors in one house to doing Adeline's chores in the next. She tells him that she knows he has Kathy and Rhonda in protective custody. And you need to think about what's going to happen when he loses this case. In other words, if he loses, something bad can happen to you, which is crazy the way she threatens him openly on the phone. So Bill then asks her, he's like, does it bother you that your husband took, innocence from your daughter? And she tells him that he doesn't know what he's talking about. That, Albie has always had a problem with him. And if he wins this case, he's going to mess him up. She wonders how Bill will feel if something happens to those two girls. Yet another threat. All of these people, in my opinion, are corrupt, right? So Bill visits the DA yet again, right? And he's telling him now about Adeline. Matter of fact, I didn't use this picture, but let me show y'all this picture because I feel like Nikki and this man, this is the DA, y'all. They got something going on, baby. The way that he looks at her and kind of flirts with her and throws jelly beans in her direction, it's very much a flirtation going on. And I feel like Nikki likes it. So I'm going to say Bill visits Nikki's potential boo, allegedly. Tells him that he needs to be looking at, the sixth wife, Adeline Grant, that she's parked out outside of prison running her business, that she's the mastermind that's basically getting all his witnesses. As he's cluing in the DA about this, Nikki is in earshot and hears this conversation. He, of course, doesn't realize Nikki is there. So he claims that he can get Albie to publicly denounce his father. That he can get him to be like, "Oh no, I don't go with him. I don't agree with the stuff that he's doing. That's not what it is," and all those other things. And this excites Ray. He says he's been working on him and he thinks he can swing him. Despite Barb's wishes, he later ends up inviting Albie and his wives to the dinner. And at some point, he gets to the point. Albie gets annoyed with it at first, like, I knew there was a reason why you invited me here, but he agrees to speak against his father. Bill lets him know that, he tells Bill there will be no charges filed against your mother for the attempted murder and the torture of Frank. And Bill is surprised because he didn't know that his mom had tried to do that. So Nikki and her mother talk on the phone with one another, and Nikki tells her to go. You got to get out of the parking lot because she overheard that conversation. We later see the two of them digging a hole in search of money that Adeline has supposedly buried, because the money that Nikki stole from the UEB office, apparently Adeline called her, told her she needs to give her some of it or she's going to reveal that it was Nikki. So Nikki gave her half of the money. So they're digging because her mother supposedly planted money out here. But as detailed as this lady is, as much as she's figured out things, I don't think she ever planted any money out there. I think that she had already spent the money and she just needed more money from Nikki. So Nikki points out to her mother, like, "Ma, I was in the Joy Book," and her mother completely skips over it. She doesn't acknowledge that her daughter just said that. So Nikki is like, "Mom, I was in the Joy Book." She don't respond. She starts talking about how the girls love Roman and how they got to help Roman and how Roman doesn't even understand and how Roman loves that girl and she doesn't understand why he loves Rhonda. And Nikki's like, well, maybe some of the girls didn't want to get married. I know I didn't want to get married the first time. And her mother says, "That's not true. You were proud to be married. You were proud, we were singing and everything. Nikki has done a good job of doing what y'all want her to do, but she's not proud." And I think for the first time, maybe this job is going to help her. I hope she sticks with it. So she can't find the money. So she's like, "We're going to have to go to your stash." After getting the hotel information, because Nikki wrote the information down and gave it to her mother, she goes to the hotel, right? Before she goes to the hotel, Nikki's boo is talking about how deep these people are into this cult and how the irony of it is that they're good people, but they're just stuck, much like Nikki. And it makes me wonder if Nikki realizes this about herself, because at what point do we no longer excuse the fact that they've been in a cult? She's now been privy to certain situations. She's had access that others haven't. She's aware of certain things that other people aren't aware of, and yet here she is still supporting. So her mother shows up at the hotel, goes to Rhonda with the $30,000, hearing from her mother. Rhonda is hurt because Adeline's like, "Look, Roman is against you. He doesn't love you and he doesn't care for you. So you just need to just take this money and be happy that I'm giving it to you, because he wouldn't even give you a nickel," which isn't true. But I think a part of her was jealous of Rhonda because she was accustomed to getting his favor as the sixth wife. And there was others after her, but she did a lot for him. And as a result of that, he held her to a certain standard. So she says all of that, and I said, it's clear to me that Adeline abuses these girls left and right. She's just as bad as Roman. It's just verbal. So Joey calls his brother, fussing about Rhonda being gone. Like, he is mad that Rhonda is gone because now, once again, it's all on them. I don't understand why the cops weren't outside watching that. I don't understand how it was so easy for her to go in there acting like she needed to change some linens and then she's let in the room. Something about it doesn't seem right. So, as usual, Bill has to rub something in Roman's face. So he talks to him out the jail, tells him that, Albie is turned on you, that he's gonna testify you. And Roman's like, okay, well, you got my son, I got your wife, okay? She'll never love you the way that she loves me, which is an odd statement for a father to make to the wife's husband, in my opinion, but that's what was said. And it's all right because I had a prophecy last night about how this is going to turn out. I'll be free, so you need to choose your next steps carefully. This is your last chance to get Kathy not to take the stand. And Bill says, no, she's going to take the stand. And so is your son. He tells him, as you wish, and ends up hanging up the phone. And I said, Bill, the way that all of this has transpired, you're foolish to think that you're in the clear, because you're clearly not. So before the trial, Nancy visits the Henriksen home to tell Barb the situation about the whole money thing and how that whole thing has turned out, right? And she has a peace offering. So she sees Lois in the driveway, and Lois tries to act like she didn't hear her calling her name. And this is when we find out something interesting, which is that years ago, Lois escaped the compound. Right? She's over there fussing, basically acting like Barb's mother felt like she was too good. You always treated me like dirt. Let me tell you something, Miss Fancy Madame. I'm not dirt, and neither is my son. And she says to her, like, look, you were an abused woman, and I don't take that lightly. Nancy helped her out of the situation, going as far as getting her an apartment, but Lois went back. She went back, you guys. How often do these women, because we even read about it in the books that we've read on the channel, shameless plug, go listen. How often do these women leave the compound, go to families that are willing to support them and their kids and allow them to stay in their home and help them get settled and all those other things, just to go back? And then they all seem to have attitudes or be rude to their families as they prepare to leave. The same families that helped you out. It's like they can't face the truth. And because they can't face the truth, they take out their anger on the wrong people. And I absolutely hate it. So Lois takes the items that Nancy brought inside, and Nancy follows in the home, which is a big deal because we know Nancy has not been in the house. It was a big deal for her to make phone calls to Barb in the first place, let alone to come outside her house and make them. So now that she's in the house, Bill is looking like, oh, hi, Nancy. So she tells Barb in front of Bill that she can't give them any money, that she talked to Ned, and he said, even though her stuff is looking really, really great, right now is not a good time to do that to herself. So Barb explains, I was just trying to, get ahead of things, Bill, just in case you had to testify. And I wanted to make sure that, my 3 kids were okay. So, the money that we had could have went to the other kids. If you say so, Barb. Y'all tell me if you believe that, because I'm not quite sure. Nikki walks in, and the mom halfway wants to speak to her because the mama don't, too much care for Nikki. And then Anna and Margie show up, and we can see that Margie's hair is dyed blonde. Nikki laughs. Nikki thinks it's funny, right? She then insults her by saying she looks like a prostitute and a complete whore. As she's saying these things, I said, okay, at this point, whatever Margie says is fair game, because it's clear that Nikki can talk down to whoever she wants to talk down. She can dish it, but she can't take it. So she's like, Barb, when Nikki says all that, and Barb's like, I can't even look at you. I don't understand why she can't look at her. Even though it's different, I think she looks pretty, even with the blonde hair. So Margie gets angry, and she has every right to get angry, all right? I don't blame her. Ooh, I lost my spot. She says, I hope your father loses and they send him up the river because he's mean and he's creepy. I said, well, he is mean and he is creepy. And given the fact of the story that she just heard a couple nights ago about Kathy, I don't blame her for saying that. She then reveals that the family hates Roman and they're actually working against him, which makes Nikki run off. While this is going on, Nancy's trying to figure out why Anna is there. Because she's like, she's not the sitter, so what is she doing here? This is when Anna announces that she is dating the family to become the fourth wife. You all. Do you see these women's faces? This was after she announced it. Lois says you don't need a fourth. Meaning, even the woman who practices polygamy says that Bill is doing too much. She says you don't need a fourth. You've got three. That's celestial. That's all you need for now and for eternity, unless you're going for a quorum. And they're like, what's a quorum? That's what Nancy says. And she says 7. Nancy is horrified, as would I be, because why do you need more? So Nancy starts going in on Bill, talking about how this is a whim and a lifestyle preference, and he's a dabbler. First it's monogamy, then it's polygamy, then it's home plus, then it's casinos. Like, you just keep dabbling, which, if you think about it, it is a great point, because you very much so are dabbling here and there, Bill, in a little bit of everything, and you never seem to be satisfied, and you always desire to have more. And part of that isn't because of the family that you keep talking about. It's for your ego. Very much given bald eagle, feeling to it, in my opinion. So next thing you know, he's talking about how, I love this woman, and I love this one, and I love this one, and I love this one. And you know what? This one right here, you know what? I want her to marry us right away. And he pulls her up. And Barb walks up like she's about to give some type of speech. She walks like she's about to give a speech, and she's like, and I second it. I proposed to. And it's like, okay, I need to think it over. Yeah, because you were just smoking a cigarette in the bathroom while Margie's washing her hair, saying you're not sure if you could do it. So she doesn't even follow a lot of the things you want her to follow, but you want her to be your fourth. It's not going to work. I have a feeling it's not going to work. So it's time for the trial. Nikki and her brother go back and forth, right? And Nikki is talking about how, she needs to think this whole thing over, because, no, I'm lying. That's not what she says. They go back and forth because he feels like Nikki is trying to please them and do their bidding. And he says, what is it in you that you hate yourself so much? And I was like, wow. Because that's a good question. What is it in you that has you feeling like you deserve this type of treatment? Like you deserve to be treated this way? So she looks like she's about to cry when he says it, but then Bill comes in and starts fussing at her for being there. He's like, with everyone but Kathy abandoning their role, like this whole situation is important. What are you doing here? And then we get to see Kathy's sister on the stand. Now, I was gonna do this whole thing, but I was like, no, I want y'all to see it for yourselves. I meant to upload that copyright description. I'm using this under fair use, and I meant to upload it. I'm going to make sure that I include it in the thing, but let me go ahead and share my screen. Disenchanted Snark is whose page this comes from. And one of the things that I realized was that they have a lot of clips. So let me go ahead and share this with you guys. Let's go.
Corroborate your sister's testimony in every way.
Yes, sir. In every way you asked me about.
Okay. That'll be all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Miss Marquardt, who's your sister? And you are twins, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so y'all see that right there is Roman. Kathy is sitting down, which is odd because I didn't know. Okay. Kathy is watching this. You normally don't get to see this, but apparently here, Kathy gets to see this. So Kathy is watching this testimony from her sister that is supposed to be corroborating what she says.
Would you say that you were close with your sister?
Yes, sir. Very. I love Kathy more than anyone in the world.
And you and your sister were both married to Ronald Hassan at the same time?
Yes, sir, for 11 years.
How old were you on your last birthday?
29.
29?
I'm pretty sure I think so.
Her saying that she was 29 on the last birthday is going to be a problem, because that makes it appear as if Kathy is lying about her age.
You think so?
We didn't celebrate birthdays on the compound growing up. We only celebrated Joseph Smith's birthday, December 23rd.
Now, your sister Kathy says that she is 27 now.
Kathy and I always argued about how old we were.
Well, how old were you when you married Ronald Hassan?
Do you see Kathy's face? Kathy's face tells me that her sister is lying, that her sister is jacking this up for her. Kathy is mortified because what's going on? You told me you had my back. I talked to you earlier while I was in the hotel room. You told me how much you love me and all these other things. And look at you here. Let's continue.
Miss Marquardt.
19.
Now, your sister says that you were both 16, not quite 17. Is she wrong? Miss Marquardt, is your sister wrong?
I don't know.
Simple question. In your opinion, is your sister wrong?
Notice how Nikki's mom is staring this lady down. So I already knew Nikki's mama had something to do with this.
I guess so, yes.
Do you have anything to prove your age? Birth certificate?
We don't have birth certificates.
Hospital records?
We don't have any. We were born at home. It's not unusual not to know how old you were on the compound because nobody ever told us.
That's all.
So maybe I was wrong.
That's all.
Oh no, don't try to fix it now. You done jacked it up now.
Marquardt.
I'll understand a plea in chambers now.
Y'all. I wanted to show you guys that because of that right there, because of everybody who dropped out, what ends up happening is that they take a break. Albie is walking out. Bill confronts him. He's yelling at him. Albie is like, I'd be a complete fool to go up there and give any type of testimony. It's over. This is collapsing. You can crawl in it if you want to, but I'm going to leave here so I can fight another day. As Albie walks out, you hear a round of applause as Roman walks out behind a lot of his congregants, which happen to be women, and he has his wrist like this, and he as he breaks the chains, and he's been freed. He gets a significant amount of charges dropped. The case falls apart. He's allowed to walk free. As they're walking out, a woman spits in Kathy's face, which is horrifying enough. And then we see what happened, which is that Nikki's mom took Jodine's son from her. So after the testimony is done and she lies on the stand, she's giving back her son. Sabotage yet again. So Roman thanks Nikki for her help in his freedom, saying, "You made this possible, my darling daughter." And as he turns around, she pushes him down the stairs. And he says, "What happened?" I thought he realized that, she did it, but whatever. And I just wonder what's about to become of Nikki, because you know that what he did was wrong and that you helped. And all he got was false imprisonment charge with 6 months of counseling. That's it. He's free. And he can't go on the compound until the 6 months is up. So Rhonda is seen leaving Los Angeles. She's with a trucker. He's driving her. She plays her demo for him. They have 9 hours till they get there to LA. She has a tear coming down her eye as she's leaving, which shows how sad she is. And he tells her to sit closer to him, which gives me the creeps, because I hope that he's not going to do anything to her, especially because she already told him that she's only 16. You all, this was a long one yet again. I'm going to work on trying to make this shorter. Let me know your thoughts and opinions of this episode. Tell me, what did you think? Did y'all think that Roman was going to get released? I did. Unfortunately, it didn't happen the way that I thought it would. Anyways, until next time.